This is a 2017 Mercedes-Maybach S650 Cabriolet, and it is the ultimate luxury convertible. And when I say the ultimate luxury convertible, I mean it. This costs more than a Bentley convertible, and it has more power than a Rolls-Royce convertible, and there are only 300 of these in the world. And today, I'm going to review this one. I've borrowed this S650 Cabriolet from Mercedes-Benz of Temecula, which is a Mercedes-Benz dealership here in Temecula, northeast of San Diego, that has a wide selection of all the latest Mercedes-Benz models, including the only S650 Cabriolet currently for sale anywhere in the United States. Then again, that's not a very difficult feat because Mercedes-Benz sold just 75 of these in the United States. That's right, this is one of just 75 in the US and 300 on the planet. Now, back when these were new, the starting price was around $250,000, but that was before options, and options were plentiful and expensive. The sticker price on this one was around $337,000 after options were added in. That makes this car a legitimate competitor to Rolls-Royce and Bentley, which is no surprise considering that Mercedes sold it under the ultra-luxury Maybach brand name. And if the rarity and the price hadn't convinced you, consider this. This car has a twin-turbo V12 with 620 horsepower. That makes it more powerful than the Bentley Continental GTC and the Rolls-Royce Dawn, its closest ultra-luxury competitors. So today, I'm going to take you on a tour of the Mercedes-Maybach S650 Cabriolet, and I'm going to show you all of the quirks and features of the ultimate Mercedes convertible. Then I'm going to get it out on the road and drive it, and then I'm going to give it a DougScore. All right, I'm going to start the quirks and features of the S650 Cabriolet with getting in, and that means starting with the key. Now, at first glance, it just looks like a regular Mercedes-Benz key, but if you flip it over, you have the Maybach logo, reminding you and everyone who sees your key that you do not just have a regular Mercedes-Benz. And there are no shortage of Maybach logos on this car to continue that reminder. Another one is right here on the front fender. Instead of a V12 biturbo badge explaining this car's engine, you just have the Maybach logo. That's all you really need. But my very favorite Maybach logo is only visible when the top is down. You can see it's on the rear deck lid right above where the top folds into the trunk, and it's just the Maybach M's right there, centered, subtle, and yet it says so much. But if there was any question that this was a Maybach from the outside of this car, all doubt is removed when you get in, because the interior of this thing is absolutely beautiful. Just look around. The leather is fantastic with this gorgeous brown piping all throughout the seats. The dashboard, gorgeous brown leather with beautiful stitching. Everything is leather. Everything is the very highest quality. This interior is a step up from what you get in the S-Class, which is already a step up from what you get in basically any other vehicle. Truly impressive. Another luxurious material in here is the carpeting, which isn't just your standard car carpeting. It's much thicker and more comfortable than that, and it's white to match the rest of the interior. Now you're thinking, who wants white carpeting? Isn't it going to get dirty? And the answer is, no. People with Maybach cabriolets do not get dirty. Now, when you get in here, aside from all the gorgeous stitching and beautiful leather, there are several other reminders that you have a more special Maybach S-Class. For example, on the door sill, it says Maybach instead of Mercedes-Benz. Another example is here in the center console on the storage lid, printed into the leather, you have the Maybach M's. But my very favorite interior Maybach reminder is at the upper part of the center console, you can see it says Maybach, and then below that, 1 of 300. Just reminding you, not only do you have a Maybach, but you have a special Maybach. By the way, that piece that says 1 of 300, it opens up to reveal your wireless charging tray, and you can see the little piece that opens it isn't just some plastic clip, it's actually like crystal looking. It's almost as if Mercedes looked in this interior and said, all right, everything the S-Class has, we have to improve it. And so this would have looked fine if it was aluminum, but they just didn't stop there. They had to make it nicer. And next up, moving on to the rest of this car's interesting quirks and features, talking about that 1 of 300 thing. If you look in the back seat, you can see there are some bags. This is the specialized Maybach luggage that came with this car, and you can see also very beautiful, perfectly matches the interior, the same colors, the same piping, and there is a Maybach logo printed in the leather of the bag. Also printed on the bag though, 1 of 300. You have a reminder on your luggage of how special your car is. Now you might be wondering what comes inside a Maybach bag. The answer is you open it up and there is another Maybach bag. And it too is perfectly color matched to the interior. It has the Maybach logo on it, and it also says 1 of 300. This is luxury. Now, this car isn't just about materials and Maybach badges and quality. There's also a lot of amazing features in this vehicle. For example, you have air scarf. All right, check this out. On the door panel, you have the buttons for the cooled seat, for the heated seat, and then there's a seat with like a line on it. What is that? You press it and it turns on air scarf, which activates this little heater in the headrest. So you're driving around at night with the top down, you start to feel cold, you don't have to put up the top. You just turn on air scarf and heat blows on your neck, warming you, allowing you to keep the top down even in cooler weather. That's why they call it air scarf. Absolutely brilliant. Here's another great feature. This is a long 2-door car, and that means when you climb inside, it can be a bit of a reach to get to your seat belts. Fortunately, this car has automatic seatbelt extenders. Once you get in, they push the seatbelt out, delivering it to you electronically, so you can just grab it and buckle yourself in. Once you've buckled yourself, the extender automatically retracts back into the car until it is needed again to deliver you your seatbelt. Now that is not incredibly rare in 2-door luxury cars. I've seen that feature before, but I've never seen this one. If you get in the car, start it up, and don't put on your belt for a while, the extender will retract back into the car, thinking that maybe you're just gonna be sitting there, you're not actually going somewhere. But when you're ready to go somewhere, you have to turn around and reach so far. But you don't. You see this little button next to the gauge cluster with a seatbelt on it? If you push it, that will automatically pop the extenders back out so that you can have your seatbelt delivered to you. So even if the extenders go back into the car after like a minute, as they're designed to do, you can still have them come back out so you don't have to reach so far. That is pure luxury. One other interesting item next to the button for the seatbelt extenders, you can see there's a button with a seat and some arrows. That button will move the rear headrest. Now, in a lot of cars, you can push a button, it drops the rear headrest so you can see better. But in this car, you push that button and it's electronic. The headrest can go up or down automatically at the push of a button in the driver's seat, which is another really luxurious feature. By the way, one item worth noting, in between the button for the seatbelt extender and the button for the headrest, there's a blank. And you gotta ask yourself, this is a $340,000 fully equipped version of the S-Class. What could it possibly be missing? I will always wonder. And next up, we move on to another ultra luxury feature in the Maybach S650, and that would be the aroma. All right, so in your car, you have a climate control system and it blows out air. In this car, it blows out air and a fragrance. If you open up the glove box, you can see there's actually like a bottle of perfume in here. You can swap this out for various different fragrances, whatever you prefer, and then you can set the car to make sure that the fragrance blows out with the climate control when you have the climate control running. And that way, the interior of your Maybach isn't just cool or warm to the temperature that you desire, but it also smells precisely and the fragrance that you desire. And next up, another amazing luxury feature in this car is panel heating. Your car may have heated seats, you might even have a heated steering wheel. This thing has heated panels. So if you want to rest your arm on the center console armrest, for instance, you can heat that up. It's brilliant to heat up more than just the seats and the steering wheel, but obviously it's expensive and difficult, but they do it for the Maybach. And next up, another luxury feature in this car is the Burmester sound system, which of course is one of the finest names in high quality sound. You can see there are beautiful speakers on the doors, absolutely gorgeous. The thing I really like though is the fact that the speakers don't just say Burmester, they say Burmester High End, to remind you that this isn't just a regular Burmester sound system like you might find in a regular S-Class. No, this is the high-end version. Now, next up, one other item I want to mention around those Burmester high-end speakers on the rear deck lid is just how beautiful that rear deck lid is. Look at this gorgeous wood back here. It looks like the deck of an upscale yacht. And you also have leather back here, which continues the incredibly gorgeous luxury theme. It's just fantastic. No one is ever really going to see this panel, especially with the top up, but if you do happen to glance back there, you are again reminded this is a true ultra luxury car. And next up, since we're talking about that area, that's obviously the base of the roof when it's in place, so let's discuss the roof, and specifically how to make it go up and down. Interestingly, there's no immediately obvious button in the center console or control stack for the roof. Instead, to find the roof button, you have to go into the center console storage area, and you have this little latch. And putting the roof up is actually a pretty simple process. You just push down on the latch, and the roof goes up. Take a look. Now, when you have the roof up in this car, two things are really notable. One is just how insulated you are from the outside world. It feels like you're driving a coupe, even though this is a soft top convertible. You can't hear anything. I'll cover that more on the drive. But the other interesting thing is what's on the inside of this convertible top. Often you have just a canvas piece, or you can even see the mechanisms for the top, but not here. You have a very luxurious headliner. Looks like Alcantara. There's stitching in it. Everything is really upscale because that's just what you do when you're making the ultimate luxury convertible. This convertible top even has a set of lights in it for the rear passengers' dome lights and reading lights. You don't often see lights integrated into the moving convertible top, but this car has it because the rear passengers couldn't be without their reading lights. Now, one other amazing thing you can do with the roof up, or frankly with the roof down, you go back into this center console storage area and there is a button in there with the windows on it. If you push that button, it will lower all 4 windows at once, which is a great feature that more cars should have, especially convertibles. You don't have to hold down each individual window button to get them all down. And once you have all the windows down in this car, you have this beautiful pillarless look. There's no B-pillar in the middle to screw up the design. So it's just a gorgeous look with one unbroken opening from the windshield to the very back of the car. Really cool. Of course, if it starts to get cold or you reach your destination, you can always use that button the other way. Just pull on it and then all 4 windows will rise up simultaneously. So once again, you don't have to press each individual window button. It's a really good idea. But anyway, enough about the roof up. This car is to be enjoyed with the roof down. So to put it down, go back into the center console storage area, that big silver switch. This time you pull it up and then the roof does its thing and goes down. Take a look. And next up, with the roof down, a couple of other interesting roof-related items worth covering. One is the wind deflector. If you go back into the center console storage area, you can see there's a button in there that shows like an arrow going over the car with the roof down. If you push that, the power wind deflector will automatically rise up and that deflects wind over the car, and that's just another way you can kind of keep wind out of your hair, but still enjoy a top-down driving experience. By the way, one other interesting item about the wind deflector, when you put up the wind deflector, you don't just put up the one in back. There's also one that pops up from the top of the windshield. You can see it raises up automatically at the same time as the one in back. Now, it doesn't really look all that good when it's in the raised position. It's like this car is wearing a little wind deflector hat, but I'm told it's very effective and it really does help direct the wind over the car with the roof down. By the way, you might be wondering what that little black piece is next to the wind deflector. That's the rear parking sensors. The way that's supposed to work is you look in your rear view mirror, and as you're approaching something, it will start to light up green, yellow, red to let you know you're about to hit it, and you're supposed to be able to see that display in your rear view mirror because of where it's mounted. It's an interesting idea in the world of 360 cameras, which this car has, but it has that too. And next up, my very favorite piece of attention to detail in this interior is on the infotainment system. You have this little wheel you turn to control the infotainment system, and when it gets to the end of a menu, it doesn't turn anymore. So it knows when the menu on the screen has stopped, and then you can't physically turn the wheel. That is a brilliant idea, probably very hard to integrate, but they've done it here for the ultra luxury car. And next up, speaking of the infotainment system, a couple of interesting items worth noting. One is this little button next to the driver's seat that shows like a seat shaking. What exactly is that? Well, you push it and that's the massager, the seat massage, and it brings up the seat massage controls on the infotainment system, and then from there you can control your seat massage turning on, because of course you can. One other interesting item in the infotainment system, this one over on the gauge cluster screen, and that would be night vision. If you're driving this car at night, you can't see very well, you press the night vision button on the left and it turns on a night vision display in the gauge cluster, which provides unusually good visibility. I have this feature in my Mercedes-Benz, and I used to use it on dark country roads at night. It's actually a pretty good feature, although as you can see, when you use it in the day, it's just creepy. It looks like this car has entered a horror film, but I promise you it does work in certain circumstances at night. And next up we move on to the rear seats in the S650 Maybach, and accessing them is actually pretty easy. You just pull this little silver lever on the side of the front seat, and then the front seat automatically moves forward and goes into place so that you can easily climb into the back seat, which I shall do now. Now, when you get into the back of this car, there are a couple of interesting items worth noting. One is the fact that even the rear seats have their own white carpeting, because even the rear passengers in a Maybach Cabriolet are not dirty. Now, other noteworthy items back here, one is the fact that the rear seats are heated, which is really insane because nobody's ever really going to use the back seats in an S-Class convertible. If you wanted to use the back seats, you would have gotten the sedan. But they're heated anyway because, well, this is a $340,000 car, and that's just what you do. You also have your own center Burmester speaker back here for the rear seats, and once again it is beautiful, and once again it says Burmester High End on it, just so the rear seat passengers are also reminded that this isn't just your regular Burmester sound system. And one other interesting item back here, mounted on the rear side of the front headrests, you have another Maybach logo. Again, no one will ever really see this, but it's there just to, again, remind rear passengers that this is special. And next up we move on to the trunk in the S650 Cabriolet. It is of course a power opening trunk, but the way you open it is kind of cool. There's no normal latch back here. Instead, you push on the Mercedes-Benz logo and then it pops open. It's a nifty little operation. Now, when you get back here, you can see that there is a bag that contains your Maybach car cover. And printed on the bag, you have a Maybach logo. there is no shortage of reminders in this car that you do not have a regular Mercedes-Benz. The other interesting thing back here is this partition you can see in the trunk. This partition is designed to give you more cargo room depending on the position of the top. If the top is up, then you can press this little button on the trunk lid, you can raise the partition, and then you can store more stuff in here, but you can't lower the top again until you put the partition back down. So if you want to carry as much stuff as possible in the back of your S Cabriolet, you have to put the roof up, put the partition up, and then you have access to your full cargo area. Otherwise, put the partition down using that same button, and then you can put your roof up and down as you wish. And next up, we move along to the outside of this car, and I want to discuss the wheels. These wheels are very interesting. My friends and I discuss them occasionally, and they're very opinion splitting. Some love them, some hate them. Personally, I think regardless of whether or not you like them, they certainly convey the message of this car, which is opulent wealth. I can think of few other wheel designs that so perfectly show you exactly what they were going for. They work well with this car. Another thing that works well with this car is this color. It's a special Maybach color called Côte d'Azur Blue, named after the Côte d'Azur in the south of France, the Mediterranean coast. Now, I've been to that area a few times, and I gotta tell you, this is exactly the car I would expect people to be driving there in exactly this color. And the people driving this car there will be 300 years old, and they can buy my family. And next up, moving on to the front of the Maybach S650 Cabriolet. A couple of noteworthy items up here. One is the front turn signals. These are different from the turn signals in the regular S-Class, and you can see there's like 40 little LEDs that light up every time the turn signal flashes. It's almost amazing to see them all lighting up together in unison, almost as if to say, I am turning, I have more LEDs than you, and I am wealthier than you. One other interesting item up here is the front grille, also different from what you get in a standard S-Class. You can see it's this beautiful chrome, like wire-looking grille. This is unique to the Maybach models, but just in case you couldn't tell that it was the Maybach grille, the word Maybach is printed there as yet another reminder. And finally, we move under the hood in the S650 Cabriolet, and you can see the massive V12 under here. This is a 6-liter twin turbo V12, 620 horsepower, huge engine. Obviously everything is covered up, but you can tell how big it is. One interesting thing I think about this engine is that the V12 badge on the top almost looks fake. It looks like some crappy plastic letters that you would buy at Pep Boys to stick your name on the trunk of your 2003 Impala. It's the chintziest V12 badge you'll ever see. But the badging doesn't really matter all that much when you can deliver the goods, and this car can. By the way, it's worth noting that this engine is unbelievably quiet. Yeah, it's a V12 twin turbo, 620 horsepower, but you can have this thing running and not even hear it. It is a really impressively, amazingly quiet powertrain, and I would expect nothing less from the ultra-luxury convertible. And so those are the quirks and features of the Mercedes-Maybach S650 Cabriolet. Now it's time to get it out on the road and see how it drives. All right, driving the Maybach S650. And I can tell you already, this is nice. This is supple. Now, I've driven this car's closest competitors, the Rolls-Royce Dawn, the Bentley Continental GTC. Right off the bat, I can tell you this car has more of a luxury feel than the Bentley. The Bentley has more precise steering than this. And has a little bit more of a sound to it. This car doesn't quite have the ride quality of either of those cars. The Dawn has the best ride quality in this segment, but it's also far more expensive than this. The starting price of the Dawn is about the sticker price of this car. Dawns are often about $400,000 with everything on them. With that said, it's not like this car has a bad ride quality. This is still one of the most luxurious cars I have ever driven. Unbelievably comfortable, and it's a truly unbelievable thing that they're able to cancel out the noise from the outside world so well, considering this is a cloth soft top. There must just be layers upon layers of sound deadening material inside this roof. fantastically fast, of course, but just like Bentley and Rolls-Royce, it does not accelerate in an in-your-face manner. This car probably does 0 to 60 in 4, something, I don't know, I haven't looked it up, but it's not like in some cars where it kind of kicks you in the face. It's very quiet, you're very removed from the road, you don't feel yourself going all that fast, you don't hear yourself going all that fast, and so you kind of only know because the road is coming at you a little quicker and you can look at your speedometer. Mostly though, I suspect the owners of this car will not be fully pressing the accelerator pedal. The purpose of this car is to give you all the luxury you could possibly need, but also the power if you want it, which is kind of the whole point of cars like this. It's there if you need it. But most of the time, you just are going to want to waft effortlessly down the street. And this is a great wafter. I've been a big proponent of the new S-Class ever since it came out in like 2014-15. It is a fantastic car, and this is the ultimate version. This is the convertible, this is the Maybach, this is the V12, this is it. Now, the drawback, of course, is if you buy this car, you're not getting a Bentley or a Rolls-Royce, and that is what Mercedes-Benz dealers are fighting against. And it's a hard fight when you're selling this in the same showroom as the A-Class, the CLA. Volume cars that hit a lease price point. It's a hard thing to sell people on, hey, you could also come here and spend $350,000 when those people could go get a Rolls or a Bentley. But I will say, in terms of just a pure car, this vehicle's driving experience and luxury and materials and quality are on the level of Rolls and Bentley. And so that's the Mercedes-Maybach S650 Cabriolet. This really is the ultimate Mercedes convertible, one of the ultimate luxury convertibles, period. And if you want a car that provides effortless power and effortless wafting and effortless reminding everyone else that you're better than them, this is the car. And now it's time to give the S650 Cabriolet a DougScore.
Starting with the weekend categories and styling, the S650 Cabriolet is very nice, but not the most gorgeous in its class. Plus, there's that pesky fact that ultimately it really looks like an S-Class, which it is, and it gets a 7 out of 10. Acceleration does 0 to 60 in 4.5 seconds, and it gets a 7 out of 10. Handling is average, and it gets a 5 out of 10. Fun factor is low for a twin-turbo V12 car. It's fast, it's enjoyable, but that's not really the point of the car. It's not designed for crazy fun, and it gets a 5 out of 10. Cool factor is also only about average. These are cool, but most people will just think you got an S-Class, and it gets a 6 out of 10 for a total weekend score of 30 out of 50. Next up are the daily categories and features. This car is loaded with a lot of great stuff, and it gets an 8 out of 10. Comfort is excellent, though not quite Rolls-Royce excellent, and it gets a 9 out of 10. Quality is fantastic, though long-term reliability is a fear. Still, it gets an 8 out of 10. Practicality is normal for a 4-seater convertible, and it gets a 4 out of 10. Finally, value, and this is a tough one. These are crazy money, but they're cheaper than rivals from Rolls and Bentley. And while the Maybach S650 Cabriolet will probably depreciate a lot, it may be helped out by the limited production run. This one gets a 6 out of 10 for a total daily score of 35 out of 50. Added up, and the DougScore is 65 out of 100, which places it here against other luxury convertibles and cruisers. The Maybach S650 Cabriolet is near the bottom, but that's only because it doesn't do well in the weekend categories, which makes sense because this isn't a weekend car. However, this car has the best daily score on this list, tied with Rolls-Royce and Bentley. The S650 Cabriolet is an amazing car, and it's the ultimate S-Class.